So I don't think they've set this pipe up yet fully, because we've got water that's going through this tube, the old one, and it's, well, I mean, you can see that it's leaking there, but you know, it's also going down that way, and I don't know how far down that tube goes. But we also got water coming from this tube, which means that this one and this one both need to be connected, so it's just, you know, sending water down that way instead of just pooling in this area over here without much drainage. So this all started with the drainage coming from down there, kind of leaking out of those two outlets. And this tube was not buried deeply enough, so I started digging that up. And then I noticed, hey, there's a white protrusion here of tubing. And I was like, I'm gonna follow this back to see where it leads to. So where it led to is this thing, which was pretty much buried in the dirt and filled up with rocks and soil. And it's not connected to anything. It used to be. You can see the outline of where it used to be mounted, like that system used to be mounted. But apparently they just decided, let's leave it there and have this really kind of half thought out system where it's just kind of pouring down right at the foundation level. I'm not going to show you the neighbors, like what theirs looks like, because I think that'd be an invasion of privacy. But what I'm doing now is I'm digging up this white tube, and I'm going to use that instead of that, because that has holes in it. And if it has holes in it, it's going to eventually get like plants growing in it because they're feeding off of the moisture and stuff. So this is sealed. I'd rather have that as my tubing system than that. But what it means is I'm probably going to have to like saw part of that off and like refit another part to it, because that thing's broken. And also it's at a 90-degree thing, and that's at a 45-degree thing. I mean, potentially I could take another 45-degree thing, flip it upside down, and have it like an S-curve going in there, if that thing was actually intact. But it's not. So I think what I'm going to do is dig it up, cut that thing off, put my new 45-degree thing on it. But I don't know. I want it to be down like this, to be as far down when I move it to the left by like 6 or 12 inches. No, I want it to be as far down as it is now, or even deeper. Because what if I get some plants and I want to put those there? I can't do it if this tube's in the way. You know, it'll affect the plants. I mean, they'll probably grow around it, but still, it's like, you know, I want as deep soil as I can. And if I'm trying to like plant or dig stuff up, I'm going to continually be running into that unless I plant it down deeper. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. Just trying to pull this tube up for now. And I'll, I guess, figure things out from there. Yay, I got it free. Alright, so what needs to happen is this tube needs to be buried so it's at least, you know, 6 inches down on this side. I just kind of want to have room for plants to grow and stuff in the soil without running into that pipe. I need to excavate that part so it's actually got some place to flow out to. Don't know exactly what that's going to look like, you know, with maybe it's going to take a left turn and then I'll have some of this tube water those things or something. But you know, I just really right now want to have an outlet for it, and then, you know, worry about that part some other time. I think what's going to have to happen is I'm going to need an adapter for this part, and then maybe a flexible length of tube to connect the two. You know, the brown tube to this top thing, and then I think this is also going to have some kind of a curved tube, maybe a length of straight tube coming out from this thing, and then an adapter to connect those two. So it'll just be like a sleeve to connect those two. And I'll just maybe have a length of tubing to go from there to there. And I can always cut stuff off the end and connect it up here. This is not the finished product. This is just showing what it's going to look like once it's connected. So it's going from this downspout to the 45-degree thing to this 12-inch tube. That's got a 90-degree down there, a junction thingy, and it goes to the Y splitter. And it goes to this long pipe, which, and the reason why this is going to remain unfinished until tomorrow, I need to dig out this thing and make sure that it's, you know, lower at this end than it is at that end, so the water's actually flowing down, and I want it to be going down quickly. I also want to make sure that, you know, it's a lot further down, like as far down as I've dug here. So yeah, I guess the pipe could either, you know, just be a little curvy, or I could just dig it out and make sure that it's, you know, the trench that I've dug is just as flat as the tube is, so that it's not, you know, going over any humps or anything. I just, you know, want it down as far as I can go, so it's not really interfering with any planting or anything. I just don't want to even have to think about it, you know, when I'm planting crops and stuff. You know, and I want to make sure that it's straight and it's not doing like a curve like this, you know. I want it to be as close to the concrete as I can get it. The concrete slab, I mean. Alright, so the thing that I've got for this brown tube is this filter thingy. And I think just kind of getting all this connected without this kind of flexible tubing would be way too difficult. You know, it doesn't have to look pretty. I guess if I really wanted to, I could find some white tubing, you know, to replace this with, or I could get the black version of this one. But I'm pretty satisfied, you know, with this, because I just want it to be functional rather than, you know, have the correct form. So yeah, it's going from this to this small section, which is impermeable. Then it's going to a spacer. Then it's going to this thing, this junction thing. Then it's going to a special kind of 45-degree tube that's smooth on one end. It doesn't have the bell end, you know, on this one, but it does have the bell end on this. And really the only reason why these sections are here is because otherwise I would be taking off another length of this pipe to make a straight section, which I could also do and might still do. I'd like to keep this thing as simple as possible. That would also have the added benefit of replacing this and keeping it kind of uniform in appearance, you know, in color. So I might still do that. Alright, this is my work in progress. This is not the finished product. Stuff that still needs to be done is I need to make sure that the trench is at the proper angle, you know, so that it's a downslope, and I want to make sure that the tube is the same distance from the beginning of the run to the end of it, staying as close to the slab as possible. You know, it's not going to go any closer or further away than the distance it is at the start, you know, so it's a few inches away from it, and I want to keep it like that. Nothing's glued together yet. This is just kind of me fitting things and making sure that I've got the right idea with everything. So we've got the initial downspout. I'm keeping this because I don't want to cut it off and then have to do something else, you know, and I kind of like the idea of it going away from the foundation to begin with, and also it makes it easier just to fit everything in that hole, you know, when I've got some distance from the wall, because that wall isn't budging. So it's going from that downspout 45-degree thing, straight shot, you know, that I got from the tube, which was actually buried over there. Back when there used to be the tube, PVC tube going from the wall to over there. So I dug it up. Now it's moved over here. I cut a section off of it and used it for this length. Then it goes to a 90-degree thing, a coupler. This Y tube that helps unite the brown one and the white one. I got this nice little downspout filter thing. That way I don't have to take everything apart just to dig leaves and stuff out. And also it is going to make it a lot easier just to get these both together. It's easier doing it with a flexible tube than it is a whole bunch of rigid stuff that doesn't leave much room for error. This is also cut off from the same tube. This is going to be more secure, in the final configuration. And it goes through the 45-degree thing, bell end on this, straight end on this, goes into the Y splitter, which does have a bell end. And it just goes from this all the way to the end. I do have some distance now that I've cut, 22 or so inches off of the end of this to the outlet. So my choices are either buy a whole nother length of this tubing, the PVC tubing. And by the way, I also kind of dug out a trench there because obviously it's got to be further down at that end and at this end. Or I can use this. I'm really leaning towards this just because, it'll mean another $17 or $18 to buy more of that tube versus this, which won't cost me anything. And I can just point that wherever I want it to go. So yeah, that's where we're at. I got a whole bunch of extra stuff, so I might try to return those to the store. Yeah, but, who cares? This is just getting it into a kind of stable situation is what I'm most concerned about, because it's going to rain really heavily on Tuesday and Wednesday. Alright, so it starts here with this older drain spout. Goes to a 45-degree thing, and goes to a straight piece of pipe. Then it goes to a 90-degree thing, a connector piece. The reason why that's so messy is just because I wanted to make sure that it had 360 degrees of coverage, and all the gaps were filled and everything. Even if it has some gaps in it, it's going to be buried, so it's just going to go into the soil, but most of it should be just flowing down that pipe. It goes to that's the junction piece right here, where that purple part starts is where the Y piece is. I know it looks messy, but everything should be sealed up. And then it connects to this long piece of pipe here. I'll talk more about that in a minute. But let's go back up to here. So I made sure that I had something that I could remove, in case leaves and stuff accumulated in this section, because I don't want, any part of this getting leaves in it. So it's got two different places where I can, take it off. It's not held on here by screws or anything. It's not glued in place. That's deliberate. This should be catching most of the leaves though, but in case it doesn't, this bendy part should be catching some of the rest of them. Anyway, it goes to the straight pipe, and it goes to a 45-degree pipe, connects back up to the Y splitter, then it goes back to this main pipe. Down here at the end, what you can't see is that there is a kind of like a wider piece of plastic. It's kind of like a funnel shape. It's like a snap fitter or something, but the reason why that's there is just so that there had to be some way to connect this piece of pipe to the white piece of pipe. but it's just wrapped up with Gorilla Tape. This piece is impermeable and is going to be buried, but again, like with down there, if it leaks some, that's not that big of a deal because it's just going into the ground. Then I got that piece taped up the same way, but that piece has got the holes in it, which should be fine. You know, there's bushes there, so they'll get watered. And if I have to, you know, at some point in the future, dig that up because it's getting clogged by roots and stuff, you know, that should be a lot easier just because the dirt there is shallower. But, you know, it shouldn't, its main purpose is just to keep the water going. It's not really to keep out sediment. It's just kind of to make it so it's ending closer to the street. So about this pipe, this straight piece of pipe is not something that I bought. It's something that came with the house. It was originally buried to the left of, you know, where it is now. It was buried over here, and I noticed that part of it was sticking up out of the ground, and they just left it there. You know, when they were, I guess, tearing off what used to be here to put up the overhang, you know, during the remodeling and stuff. So I dug it up, scooted it over, cut off pieces of it to use as the straight sections here, and that's where it is now. So the only thing left for me to do is bury this whole thing and kind of clean up the mess that, you know, this excavation has caused. You don't need to see that though. All you need to see is that it's connected and it should be working. Okay, so I got to a pretty good stopping point. You know, this isn't an ideal configuration and I've still got some cleaning up to do, but I've made a lot of progress. That whole thing is buried now. When I was digging around in here, I found out that there was a concrete slab, like that's all cement underneath all those rocks, because they were just sloppy when they were pouring the foundation for this divider wall. So I put those rocks there just to mark off where the concrete starts, and you'll notice that there's still kind of a depression in here, and that's just from, you know, having to move so much dirt around. A lot of what I've taken out of there is just like kind of this more clay soil. You know, it's stuff that I threw over the fence and have been using for filling in and stuff. So I got all those rocks there. The line where they start is where there's concrete underneath it. Same for these right here, and that little cluster down there, and this pretty little cluster over here. They're not bad looking rocks. Like I think it's possible that they might have been decorative rocks at some point, but I just dug these up from, you know, all over in the dirt. On the other side of the fence, I've got either these stone dividers, you know, like down there, or just you know, small rocks or anything to kind of block off the fence there to keep you know, wildlife and stuff out of this area. I've also got this black trim put into place. It's going all along that front there. You know, that's what I'm most concerned about. I don't really care about this part. It's just this side over here, because there's you know, that bank on the other side where water can just flow out. Broke the shovel in the process. It's just from, you know, being out in the rain and snow and stuff for like 3 years straight, that got pretty brittle. That and like several you know, days worth of using it outside and putting a lot of strain on it.